7-4 now in favor of Australia. Welcome to the Shiny Side podcast, and we are here looking right after the Australia's win over Pakistan. Australia now has a 7-4 lead over Pakistan in ODI World Cups. With me, we have once again Omer Basir, who you've seen before, dialing in from Houston, and we have Behram Qazi with us, who anyone who follows cricket must have seen him around on various podcasts, Twitter, etc. Hi guys, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Faris. Doing well. Could have been much better but glad to be here.
Yeah. And Behram, how about yourself?
Fine. Well, yeah, doing great. And thank you, of course, for inviting me over to your show. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And yeah, excited to talk some cricket.
Okay, good stuff. So we start the show with 33-second summary of the day, which I'll quickly do, and I'm timing this. So Pakistan won the toss, decided to field. We dropped Warner on 10. They ended up having a mammoth 259-run partnership. Warner scored 150 plus. Marsh scored 100. They were, I think, but somehow we came back fairly well, if I can call it that, with 360. And once Pakistan started batting, we had a 134-run opening stand of our own. The run rate was pretty much required. Run rate was pretty much manageable at about 8.5 till about 10 overs to go. But I guess we just kept losing that one wicket too many, and eventually was snuffed out for 305, and we lost by 62 runs. So, boys, before we get into like specifics, sentiment क्या है इस वक्त? Behram, you want to go first?
यार मेरा सेंटिमेंट कोई इतना को खराब नहीं है. पाकिस्तान का वर्ल्ड कप तो अभी शुरू हुआ है. Backs against the wall, right? But look, if you're a professional working in the field, you have to come to terms with the fact that Pakistan will not win every game and there will be a lot of loss involved. And the last time I felt really, really upset about a game was back when I was running my own YouTube channel, Qazi, and this was after a test match versus the West Indies at Sabaina Park, जो कि पाकिस्तान खेल रहा था summer of 2021 में. और हसन अली ने तब एक कैच ड्रॉप कर दिया था. कीमार रोच took West Indies to a 1-wicket win. That is the last time I felt any sort of agony, you could say. और उसके बाद से पाकिस्तान ने, they've seen a fair few heartbreaks, right? But it doesn't impact me anymore. I'm fairly immune, and that keeps me in a good headspace to come and talk in your show, right?
Yeah, good stuff. Omar, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm not as immune as Behram is. It's definitely hit me, and I think we, in the grand scheme of things, as Behram said, World Cup hamara abhi bhi hai. We can still get there and win the World Cup. Lekin we should have won this, right? Given the way the boys were chasing this, I think we could have won it. So usme thoda sa, that's been the hit for me. Lekin yeah, World Cup's still open. I think a lot of positives from this game as well to take forward.
Before, I will get into specific, but मेरा जो thought है, I actually feel more positive about our World Cup right now than I did this morning, for lots of reasons, which we will get into. But I feel like a lot has happened today, which I feel I'm a bit more optimistic about. So I guess starting off at the toss, right? So Pakistan won the toss, put Australia in. Omar, you want to go first? What did you think of that decision?
I am a firm believer we're chasers, right? This team is born to be a chasing team. Our bowling, I don't think, can defend any total at this, as sad as it is to say for Pakistan bowling lineup. Batting हमारी कुछ भी chase कर सकती है, which may have happened today, right? So I think I was happy with that, and as I think the other captain said as well, right, कि वो भी bowling ही करता, given how flat the pitch was. I thought fair decision.
Behram?
Yeah, I have no, qualms with that decision. In fact, मैं तो काफी podcast में यही बात कर रहा था कि Pakistan should go for, chasing a total if they get an opportunity to win the toss and stuff like that. And the reason was, they just completed a world record chase in World Cups. 345 Sri Lanka के खिलाफ chase किया था. ऊपर से यार, we all knew the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru was going to be a belter, right? It was going to be a flat deck. It proved to be the exact same. And in these sort of situations, had Pakistan restricted Australia to not even, चलो 300 तक करते तो जीत ही जाते ना, वो तो पता ही है हमें. मगर 320, 330 तक भी करते ना, I feel like Australia got 50 runs too many, and ultimately you have to come down to that dropped catch of Warner. Warner का executive ODI ton tha versus Pakistan in ODIs. He has 21 ODI tons in total now, and if you give that sort of a player a life, wo bhi 10 pe, and I really, really feel for Shaheen Afridi because he could have had 6, right? Or maybe even more. The complexion of the game, tone wahi pe set ho gayi thi, right? And that is a glaring error. And of course, I don't want to single out Osama Mir and say a lot of bad stuff about him because is tarah ki cheezein ho jati hain. Of course, it was a howler. No one's saying it wasn't. But then again, cricket है, sport में ऐसी चीजें होती रहती हैं. But if you have to pinpoint one particular thing in the game, of course, there's lots more to this game than just that dropped catch. But that was, it put Pakistan on the back foot from the word go.
Yeah, and I guess Warner was also dropped 110, which may seem like he was on 100, but he scored about 50 more runs, right? So even that could have been when Abdullah Shafiq dropped him at mid wicket or whatever. And what did you guys make of the
chance tha. You can always say that was a tougher chance, but what Osama dropped was a dolly.
And Osama ke to haath mein bhi nahi aayi ball. Like he literally hit the ball hit his chest. But
you could tell from his face that he's done. His game is over. And I knew it, and I was really fearing for the worst. I was hoping Hassan Ali would go and have a chat with him because he's gone through something similar. But pata nahi, it just felt like Osama was completely out of it. And I understand why.
Yeah.
It's David Warner.
So I guess the other thing I was going to ask you guys about was the decision to bring Osama. And obviously, I mean that more as a bowler / batsman, etc. And clearly, I don't know, agar humne bowling improvement aaya, but on the fielding, there was a serious step down from Shadab, clearly, which we saw. But Omar, what's your take on? How do you feel the Osama coming in decision in the side, and how do you think it played out, other than the drop catch?
You know, given the challenges with the bowling lineup, I think Osama ka banta tha team mein aana, right? We talked about it last Pakistan game as well. We had to find a way to bring him in. To usko le to aaye, and I think in patches he did bowl well, right? I think, that was the keyword, patches mein. I think so from a bowling solution perspective, I think we should. But at the same time, when it came to fielding, like you said, after batting mein, khas taur pe batting mein, jab Australian spinners bowling kar rahe the, we really missed Shadab, right? And maybe our best player of spin in that lower middle order type, and who can finish off games. So I think we really missed him. Bowling mein, Shadab, kitna aur behtar karta, it's hard to say, but again, in patches, he did well. Again, agar aap kisi young player ko inexperienced ko la rahe hain, you want to give him some type of foundation, right? Agar ek aad wicket gir chuki hoti, it would have been better for him. Aake thode leg spinners thrive in that type of situation, right? For an inexperienced guy to come in, two very experienced senior batters are thrashing, it wasn't easy. So I think, in this game, if you zoom into this game, you're like, we wish we had Shadab, but I think for our entire World Cup campaign, I think it was the right move.
I guess if I look at Babar's captaincy in the first innings, right? So I think Shaheen obviously started off really well, maybe the best start he's had so far. And he, especially, I think he bowled a maiden in the 7th, and he didn't come back for the 5th over. So that was a question I had. And along with that, once Nawaz and Ifti got some control in the middle of the innings, there was about 10 overs with 45 runs only. At 29th over, wahan pe, instead of bringing Shaheen, Babar got Hassan Ali, who kind of went for like a few, and the pressure sara wahin pe khatam ho gaya. So how would you, Behram, how would you look at the captaincy from Babar with the bowling side of things, especially, and these two things I spoke about?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of things over there. I think Babar captained decently for half of the game and not too well for the other half. Of the first half was where, he made some errors. I think Shaheen ko ek aur over de deta, maiden karaya hua tha, so it made sense that you just go with him, and he was looking in good shape. As you mentioned, he looked the best he's looked for a while. Since that India game in the Asia Cup, really, if you come to think about it, wo jo 4 for liya tha India ke khilaf. So I can appreciate the fact that he was maybe trying to think outside the box to bring in Ifti, because, off spin jo hai, right arm off spin versus a left-hander, maybe he valued that matchup versus David Warner. And if you really look at Iftikhar's numbers, he did quite well. He didn't take a wicket, but he did quite well. तो शायद उससे थोड़े ज्यादा ओवर करा लेता. And Hassan Ali से यार मैं यही बोलूंगा कि you have to kind of go for Hassan in the middle as opposed to the depth, because if I look at Pakistan's final 10 overs, एक तो वहाँ पे वो पहले ही अच्छा कर रहे हैं, आज भी अच्छा ही किया. Even Haris Rao, first 5 overs he went for plenty, and then 55 or something, इस तरह कुछ गया वो पहले 5 में, sorry पहले 4 में, और फिर आखिरी 4 में
he went for 47 in 3, and then he went for 36 for the next 5.
Yeah. So if you look at the last 4 overs of Haris Rauf, that was 3 for 24. I think Haris Rauf should be saved for the death and the latter half of the game. Shayad aap usko first change mat lao power play mein. Maybe when you don't have a left-hander on, go with Nawaz in the power play. I don't mind that at all. तो इस तरह की थोड़ी चीजें देखना चाहूंगा मैं बाबर आजम से. बाकी आई थिंक आज कप्तानी उसने अच्छी की थी. जब स्टीव स्मिथ आया था तो स्लिप में आया था, उसने खुद ही ड्रॉप कर दिया. तो वो फिर आपको चीज नजर नहीं आएगी. But yeah, look, I've always maintained that Babar is not a great captain. He's a decent captain who's learning, and I think today captaincy wasn't the issue why Pakistan lost, even though we can nitpick और हम कह सकते हैं ये चीज वैसे हो जाती, वो चीज वैसे हो जाती. But ultimately, you could have planned your chase better. और उसके अंदर वही है कि a lot of ordinary deliveries ended up fetching wickets. Marcus Stoinis को आपने 2 wickets दिए हैं, and चलो अब्दुल्ला यार, I'm all for going all out attack, but 1-2 delivery देख लो Stoinis की. पहली ball है उसकी, दिन की, you kind of just see what it's like, and then you pick your battles wisely. An experience hai, chota hai, I'll forgive it. Imam ka ye hai ki I think that was the shorter end of the boundary. He was probably trying to lob it over for 6 and it didn't work out. But again, I think both of those guys failed to cash in on their starts. Babar got out to a really, really ordinary delivery. And now we have to talk about this, even though I've tried my best to defend Babar in front of casuals on Twitter. I've tried my level best, but that is pretty much a carbon copy dismissal of that Netherlands wala dismissal Babar ka. और उसी फील्डर को वो ढूंढता है. He can't go up and over that fielder over mid wicket against the spinner, and it's become a bit of a trend, and that is a worrying sign. I'm not too worried. I know Babar Azam is quality. He will come good, but today was the day, right? आज चलना था, आप नहीं कर पाए, and you have to or share the burden of that responsibility. और जो loss भी हुई है आपके ऊपर काफी आती है. And I mean, I'm sure he'll hopefully take it on the chin, and Pakistan might be better. Maybe this was a good loss to have because there are some positives. Shaheen Afridi's spell kya puri ke pure 10 over uske. I think on this surface, belter of a track to take 5 wickets for 50 odd runs, and when he should have had 6, right? He should have had 1. I think it was an exceptional bowling performance. Uske alawa kuch positive dekho to chalo Abdullah and Imam couldn't cash in, but they both got really good starts. Imania looked good. Dismissal हुआ क्योंकि थोड़ा अनलकी था यार. और you've got to hand it to Zampa, you know, elite skill level. People don't talk about Adam Zampa as much. In the 4-year cycle preceding this World Cup, since the last World Cup 2019 to 2023, जो 2 World Cups के दरमियान सारे ODIs हुए हैं, leading wicket taker across the world was Adam Zampa with 77 wickets at 22 apiece. That is ridiculous. You have to acknowledge that. And he showed us exactly आज के क्यों उसकी इतनी pedigree है और क्यों वो इतना अच्छा player है. Even though I think he flies under the radar, people don't rate him as much, but I would say tier 2 spinner, tier 1 पे मैं वो कुलदीप राशिद उन लोगों को रखता हूँ. ठीक है. So lots of things, you know, where Pakistan, you know, lost key battles and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think even after conceding 368, Pakistan did have a good chance. बस वो गंदी बॉलों पे आउट हो गए हैं और क्या बोलूं.
Omer, what's your take on from the batting point of view, right? So it seems like other than Babar, or even Babar, actually, everybody got a start in the top 6, and they all seem to make contribution. I feel like all we lacked was, I say all, but one person making that big 100-150. And that would have been a very different result, right? Because we eventually finished 60 or short. So if Babar ki 20 or 70, 80 ho jati, that would have been a difference also. So Omer, what's your take on the batting, and how do you, what's good, what's not so good right now?
Yeah, that was it. I think a lot of positives despite the loss. I think the batting was, I would still deem it a success, right? Babari Regia, if he fires, I mean, there's nothing more you'd want from this except for, let's play long innings, right? Like, when you're chasing a total like this, you know, there's a lot of things going through your mind, right? You don't want to wait for the last few overs and the run rate to be over 10 when you have 9 wickets in hand or so on, right? So I think usme people got out trying to up the ante a little bit. Babar got out to a ball again, wasn't as short to be pulled. So I think from a batting perspective, I think things are shaping up really well. Thoda sa inexperienced hai, we've been talking about it, right? Middle order maybe, Abdullah Shafiq's new. So I think these boys are learning. I think on all of these experiences, again, that's looking exciting to me. So I think it's all adding up. Lower order continues to be a concern, right? I think Osama Mir, Hassan Ali, and so on they're better than what we saw. I think we need contributions from them. Right? I think that's the biggest thing for me. When I think everyone else is chipping in, it's shaping up well.
Yeah, I think my take also is the biggest positives, I'd say, for batting in the last 6 weeks or so is probably Saud Shakil and Abdullah Shafiq, right? Guys who weren't meant to be around the squad or in the 11. And all of a sudden, they are actually, like when Saud Shakil came in my head, I was telling myself, Hamara best batsman to hai, right? Because I just love how he's taking on everybody now, and he's so comfortable and confident doing it for a guy who's barely played at this level, right? So I think that's great to see. And again, right, that's one of those things, like Behram said, maybe taken on too many, like Stoinis ki pehli ball pe Wimby shouldn't have charged, right? But I feel like, again, those guys have got most of it wrong. Imam, again, is looking in good touch. And, Imam, he criticism hoti hai ki wo slow khelta hai, but he was run a ball or thereabouts. So I think at no point, in my view, were we behind on a required run rate. I feel like हमने उसको 8.5 पे रखा हुआ था और वो 10 पे जब ही आया जब 10 over रह गए थे, which is fine, right? So in these kind of conditions, so I feel like if anything we lost, I would say at any point we probably lost a wicket too many rather than we were going too slow, because I think run rate wise it was a very well timed chase in my view.
Yeah, and even I would even forgive getting out on Stoinis' first ball, right? I mean, he's their sort of 5th, 6th bowler. You're setting the tone from ball 1. I mean, I get it, right? I can appreciate that. I think again, batting mein Shadab, right? Would Shadab had made a difference? Well, spin matchup mein, right? Maybe that was it.
Because I was just thinking today also, right? Like I know T20 is different, but last year we sent Shadab in early against Afghanistan. I think that was a Asia Cup tha, but like, I was thinking about that today. Okay, we have Afghanistan up next. Will we miss someone who can really go out and hit out against the spin, right? Because I think Osama can bat a bit, but in fact, Behram, this is a question for you. So how do you think Shadab going out and Osama coming in, do you think it's making our tail too long, or is it a ploy worth taking?
It's definitely making our tail too long, right? Because Shadab is a quality bat, not like obviously top 4 bat nahi hai wo, magar I think he's very, very underrated playing particularly. And I think कि आपको कुछ ना कुछ कर उसकी जगह बनानी पड़ेगी for the Chennai games. I don't know what they're thinking on batting tracks, but ultimately he doesn't just offer leg spin. If anything at this point, you'd have to say that his batting and fielding supersedes his bowling. And I have always maintained that Shadab is a quality player, and you're lucky to have him. ठीक है, वो चल नहीं रहा. He hasn't found his lengths. Either it's a full toss or it's a drag back. Very, very few good deliveries landed in that, corridor of uncertainty, good length wale area pe. So I don't want to say that Osama Mir did not deserve to be here. ठीक है, वो भी merit पे team पे आया था. But yeah, maybe it was too big of an occasion. Hindsight में बात करना वैसे ही आसान है. Shadab wasn't bowling particularly well, and I think Osama would have had a better day had he not dropped that catch. I think जब आप पहला अपना World Cup का मैच खेल रहे हो और आप इस तरह का important David Warner का catch drop कर दो, who's already pretty much established himself as Pakistan's boogeyman, give him that SCG test, the farewell SCG test. Whoever's listening, if someone from Cricket Australia is listening, he's earned it. ठीक है, तो I think he could never really recover from that. बाकी coming to Chennai, maybe it's worth a shout to try 3 spinners, मगर फिर कौन miss out करता है?
उसके अलावा the question also is, Behram, you said, sorry to cut you off, but you said Chennai, but the first game in Chennai is Afghanistan. So, that 3 spinner thing, and for Chennai, generally show, for Afghanistan, probably not. So it's a tricky one from that point of view also.
That's true. No, definitely. And I think based on what we've seen from the Chennai surface, अभी Afghanistan New Zealand का जो मैच हुआ था, और उससे पिछला जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया इंडिया का मैच हुआ था, तो हमें कुछ पता नहीं है यार कि ड्यू आएगी कि नहीं आएगी सेकंड इनिंग्स में. दैट्स रियली ट्रिकी, बिकॉज इफ दैट इज द केस कि अगर ड्यू आती है फिर तो ऑफ कोर्स you bowl first. You want to get the best of the conditions, and you don't want to give Afghanistan spinners those conditions. And you want Afghanistan spinners to be bowling with a wet and soft ball. But अगर तो ड्यू नहीं आती, so maybe Pakistan are better off defending in that game.
England went in Dharamshala thinking a due against Afghanistan, right? And we all saw what happened there. But I guess before we close the loop, Omer, I have a question a bit more about our fast bowlers now. So how are you looking at Shaheen's performance today? And also, can we say Haris turned a corner during the day, or is it more about he's just good at the death and he sucks at the beginning?
Yeah, the Shaheen coming strong was a great sign for us, right? I'm still a bit concerned with the lack of new ball movement, right? But again, he countered for it by sticking to the right lengths. So I think he did really well there, right? Very good control throughout the innings. So I think that was really good to see. Hassan Ali, I think we've seen him swing the ball a little bit. Like we must have 2 bad balls, an over is costing him, right? He has 4 wicket-taking balls and then 2 really bad balls. Haris, I think he's never really, he's had a few recent good performances actually with the newer ball, but overall newer ball, he hasn't really come out and shown that he is the guy to take a newish ball or the new ball and swing it and keep it tight. In the death, we all know how good he is. So I think we do need to hold him back a little bit and save him for those maybe second half of the game. But then the question goes, what do we do in the middle, right? And for me, I want to bring Shadab into the 11. So who do I drop, right? And I think Hassan Ali is the only option. So the question then is, do you open with Shaheen and Nawaz maybe, with Ifti coming in? Can we do that, right? On these pitches, maybe the answer is yes, because it's not like any of the fast bowlers are taking any wickets across all teams, right? I mean, they are taking wickets, but not so much of the new ball. So that would be, how I may risk that.
I guess similar to what Behram said, right? But then the question, if we were playing South Africa and Chennai first, this would be an easy one. But we are playing Afghanistan first. That makes it a bit harder. But
I wish that was the case.
Yeah. So I guess before we move on, guys, I'm going to quickly pull the points table up and see what it's looking like at the moment. So Australia now are level at 4 with us, and they're ahead on net NRR. And we also have South Africa at 4, and England is right behind it too. So if somehow tomorrow we have England beats South Africa, we'll be looking at a position where team 3, 4, 5, 6 are all on 4 points each. So there's still, obviously, we're still very much in it, as are a lot of the other guys. If South Africa, on the other hand, win it, then England kind of gets left behind. So I think looking at all of this, and I'm just going to pull up our fixtures that are coming up now. So we spoke about them already. But we have Chennai and South Africa. Sorry, we have Afghanistan, South Africa, and Chennai. Then Bangladesh, and then New Zealand, and then England. So we won 2 out of 4. We need to win another 4 out of these 5 to kind of guarantee, or maybe 3 out of 5 potentially. So how are you guys looking at the next 5 fixtures? Behram, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So देखें, बात simple सी है, ठीक है? पहले भी मैंने यही कहा था, backs against the wall. Pakistan, realistically, to make the semi-finals would need 6 wins out of 9. You have 2 wins out of 4. That leaves 5 games, and you need to win 4. अब बांग्लादेश और अफगानिस्तान आप एक्सपेक्ट करते हो कि पाकिस्तान मैचेस जीतेगा, बट लाइक वीव मेंशन्ड, अफगानिस्तान इज वेरी ट्रिकी फिक्सचर बिकॉज इट्स बीइंग प्लेड इन चिपॉक, चेन्नई. ठीक है, तो वो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन इट माइट नॉट बी a scenario in which Pakistan are overwhelming favorites. I would still say they are favorites to win that game, but I would give Afghanistan a very good shout. और इस दफा तो नसीम शाह भी नहीं है बचाने के लिए.
Exactly.
तो आप अफगानिस्तान बांग्लादेश वाली चलो, अगर जीत जाते हो तो आपके पास 3 मैच हैं जिसके अंदर आपको 2 जीतने हैं. South Africa, New Zealand, you've generally had the wood over in ICC tournaments and World Cups, this, that, but they're looking really good. And England is a team which is looking out of sorts. So I wouldn't be surprised if it all comes down to Pakistan, England, straight shootout quarterfinal sort of situation at the end of the group stage. I wouldn't say the World Cup is over for Pakistan. If anything, it might have ignited them more. It might have fired up the boys. You never know. क्योंकि इतनी बुरी लॉस नहीं थी. I know it looks bad, but पाकिस्तान ने फिर भी फाइट की. हमारी अवाम यही कहती है ना यार कि फाइट कर हारो. आज मेरे ख्याल से उन लोगों ने रिकवर वगैरह कर लिया था, and they just lost key battles which cost them the game. And then of course if you're going to drop catches like that, even though ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने भी 2 छोड़े, मगर वार्नर का कैच आपको 153 रन कॉस्ट कर गया. और आपने जिस तरह बोला कि 110 या समथिंग पे उसका फिर से वो अब्दुल्ला शफीक ने डीप में छोड़ा था, ऑल बी डिफिकल्ट चांस, बट स्टिल यू गेव देम लॉट्स ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज. एंड देन अल्टीमेटली यार मैं ये भी बोलूंगा कि आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ओ शादाब को खिला लेते तो वो कैच पकड़ लेता कोई, बट देयर इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट, राइट? You are sacrificing your best fielder for someone else. और इस चीज को तो आप नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकते. These are just facts. He might just be arguably the best fielder in Pakistan's history. So you have to take these things into context, and Pakistan need to get their act together. But I think after this loss, I would say Pakistan, मुझे feel आ रहा है जीत जाएगी.
So I tell you what, Omar, before I come to you, जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया का जो पिछला मैच हुआ है उसके बाद मैंने पॉडकास्ट पर कल रात को भी मैंने प्रीव्यू करते हुए कहा था कि आई फील लाइक ऑस्ट्रेलिया सडनली ऑल ऑफ द इश्यूज आर सॉर्टेड एंड आई फील लाइक दे कुड रियली गो ऑन अ रन देयर. एंड दैट वाज माय व्यू ऑन द प्रीव्यू एज वेल लास्ट नाइट. एंड आई वोंट से ऑल इश्यूज आर सॉल्व्ड, बट आई फील लाइक हमने आज बहुत सारे सवालों के जवाब दिए हैं और हमने बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन मार्क्स होते हैं ना, उनको हमने टिक उनके आगे लगाना शुरू किया है. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि आई फील लाइक like I said, I'll go back to what I said early on. I'm more confident right now in our chances in the tournament than I was this morning. Omar, how do you see things going forward?
Even though we lost the game, I think there's a lot of positives for us to take. I think you highlighted all of them. I think momentum ban raha hai. Everyone's performing, bowling, despite wo comeback aaya, it was great to see the fight back. So we lost with the fight, we put a fight. By the way, Australia के लिए मैं अभी भी थोड़ा परेशान हूँ. Besides, we all knew एक विकेट की बात थी, right? उनका एक ओपनर आउट होता and they fell through, fell like a deck of cards. So I'm still concerned about Australia going forward क्योंकि bowling was decent, लेकिन again they were at risk of letting the other team chase 360 odd. So Australia, I think, still has a lot of things to solve.
Speaking of which, Omar, I've got their fixtures up on the screen also. So they have 2 wins out of 4. They'll have Netherlands, which you should think they should win. They'll be sitting on 3, and then they will need another 3 wins from Bangladesh, Afghanistan, New Zealand. So I guess they have Afghanistan and Bangladesh towards the end, and Afghanistan in Mumbai is very different from Afghanistan in Chennai, right? Because Mumbai is a very flat track. So how do you see, Omar? How do you see Australia's next few games and their chances?
Yeah, like I was saying, I think there's still a lot of concern with Australia. Like Netherlands, they're giant killers, confidence super high. I don't think anything's for granted. That's the beauty of this World Cup, right? Everyone showing up, anyone can move forward. I think they need to play really, really good cricket. New Zealand's probably one of the best teams right now, along with India. So they need to work hard. I don't think I think they're like Pakistan again, are gaining that momentum. This is a very long tournament, though. It's in a way you don't want to put all your energy in the beginning and then you run out of gas. I think both teams are sort of heading in a similar trajectory. I think Australia has a lot of work to do. Batting, I mean, lots of work left.
Okay, guys, before we wrap up, there's a matter of a game tomorrow as well. In fact, a game which I've been looking forward to watching. I think it's been an exciting game. It's South Africa and England. And excuse the Pune, I know it's actually at the Wankhede in Mumbai, so this is an error. So this game is tomorrow. What I have up on my screen is the likely 11s of both sides. So Stokes being fit, the expectation is instead of him replacing Brook, who came in for Stokes last time around, they may drop Sam Curran and make the batting a bit longer, because Curran's been pretty ineffective, as is Vokes. And then they're juggling between Vokes and Atkinson. So, Behram, do you have a view, or what do you think the 11 will be or should be tomorrow?
Yeah, England is tricky because their bowling is not firing. Okay, Jofra Archer ke baghair, they look quite toothless. And Reece Topley ne thoda kar better kiya hai. He took 4 wickets versus Bangladesh and he looked decent actually versus Afghanistan, but still didn't come off as expected. They've got to bring Moeen Ali back. I think that's one thing that they need to do. And if Stokes is fit, he would unfortunately replace Harry Brook for me, because it's that number 4 role that I have, earmarked for him. And then Harry Brook or Liam Livingston में से you make a call, but Livingston आपको over करा कर देता है, तो इसलिए Livingston ज़रूरी है ज़्यादा मेरे हिसाब से. Butler at 5, Livingston at 6, Moeen at 7, and then Vokes और Curran में से एक तो खिलाएंगे ना वो लोग, उनको भी deep batting रखने का काफी शौक है, and it's been a template for success for them as well, so you can't entirely blame them, even though he's been bowling garbage, absolute filth. ठीक है?
I think
इसमें कुछ डर नहीं है.
Some noise coming out of the camp suggesting that they may actually play an extra batter and drop one of Curran, or probably Curran.
तो Livingston और Root से वो overs निकालेंगे. शायद ये करें. Maybe it's a ploy that I wouldn't be surprised with, given England's obsession with out-batting teams. And honestly, if they are to win games at this World Cup, that's how they're going to win them, because without Jofra.
Behram, would you consider bringing Atkinson in?
I wouldn't. I would still go with Vokes, because I think he gives them that batting depth that England very desperately want, because that's what allows them to play the way that they play. Or I think उनका जो वो एक बैस बॉल से पहले उनकी वाइट बॉल रेवोल्यूशन चली है, ठीक है, 2015 के वर्ल्ड कप के बाद से, आफ्टर गेटिंग एलिमिनेटेड इन द 2015 वर्ल्ड कप ग्रुप स्टेज, that's when they kind of revamped their setup and came in with a new philosophy. England will die on that hill if they have to. I 100% believe that, and I kind of respect them for it in a weird way.
No, I get it.
Given their bowling lineup, they need to. I think that's the philosophy they need to live by. They can only outbat teams. They don't have the bowling to go through teams.
And I guess also, if you look at South Africa quickly, so Omer, I have the 11 popping up on likely 11. So I think they haven't made too many changes. Essentially, it's either Shamsi or Kodza who comes in. So I think given that they're playing England, I imagine they'll opt for Shamsi. It is a very flat track though in the Wankhede. And also I think Shamsi means that the tail becomes a bit longer. But Omer, how do you see South Africa's 11? Do you think this is the way they go?
Yeah, I was surprised they left out Shamsi in the last game, to be honest. I think he's really good. He's a wicket taker, wrist spinner. And again, we were seeing on these pitches, you need these type of spinners. So he 100% needs to come back. And he's a key call guy, I think, for South Africa winning this campaign. So otherwise, everything looks good. But I think they need to find a spot for Shamsi.
Good stuff, guys. Before we wrap up, Behram, you're on the show for the first time. We have a little quiz at the end, which I'm going to pop up on the screen. And
I like quizzes.
Given that you're on the first time, so you can go ahead and try and answer this. And if you want, you can get help from Omer. But the quiz is not the kind of quiz you typically will see. So you have to list the following players in descending order of Instagram followers.
Oh,
There's
man.
Shaheen, Babar,
Muझे
Cummins,
stats
Warner,
देते.
and
Should have
Shahid
given me
Afridi.
stats. I would have won this goddamn thing.
Stats देता तो फायदा नहीं होता ना फिर कुछ.
I'm
अच्छा
not even
चलो.
on IG, yaar, so.
I would say that just given by fanfare, I think Babar would be number 1. Shahid Afridi would be number 2. And or maybe actually, let me change that. Shahid Afridi number 1, Babar 2.
I agree.
Uske baad I would put Shaheen. Warner has very strong social media game, so Warner at 4 and then Cummins at 5.
So I guess your logic was decent, except you underestimated Warner's social media game.
हाँ वो actually IPL में काफी उसकी
he puts up these Bollywood dancing videos and whatnot. So Warner's actually at the top with 10 million.
David Warner's probably making bank off social media, isn't he?
Of course he is.
And look at us, हम इधर आकर ऐसे YouTube show कर रहे हैं. हमें जाकर Warner के पास जाना चाहिए.
बिल्कुल. अब next time Warner को लेंगे. So Warner and then Shahid Bhai is still more than Shahid Bhai is still ahead of Babar, which is crazy. Afridi. And then there's Babar, Shaheen, and Cummins. So that's the quiz.
The sister is winning over the Damad, huh?
Still. But great stuff, guys. Behram, thank you for being on the show.
It was an absolute pleasure to be here. And it makes me very, very happy to see other people, pursue YouTube channels and talking about cricket. And honestly, I've been on a lot of shows, and I was very, very content with the discourse and the tenor of the show. And it was a lot of fun talking cricket with you guys. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Best of luck to you. And yeah, I hope to be here someday again.
Great. And Omer, thank you for being on the show.
No, thanks, Faris. Even though Osama Mir, completed the trio of Rahat Ali, Hassan Ali, and Osama Mir dropping a catch to give Australia World Cup game, I think the campaign's heading in the right direction. Nice talking to you, boys.
Okay, good stuff. And for those of you who like our content, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back tomorrow after the England-South Africa game. In the meantime, stay tuned to the shiny side.